Tomorrow's technology today, securely wired to the cloud. Welcome to our Microsoft 365 training series. As a gold certified Microsoft partner, we will walk you through the latest updates, tips, and tricks for Microsoft products.
Welcome everyone to the next of our series for our Lunch 365 series. So I am Amy Spriggs, and we have with us Katie Kramer. I am the Director of Marketing Strategy for Tomorrow's Technology Day, and I will be your MC and host of the event today. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to watch the comments and see if you have any questions, try to answer those, make sure Katie can answer those when we go through, or as we go through. Katie is our project and training specialist, and she does all of our Microsoft 365 trainings, and she's our in-house guru. So I will turn the training over to her. But again, as you go through, if you have questions, feel free to add those in the comments. I will be watching that across all three platforms. We are currently live on Facebook, LinkedIn, and YouTube. So I will watch all three of those. Also, know that if you ever want to add a topic, let me go ahead and get that up here where you can put that. So if you go to our website, which is tomtechtoday.com/lunch365, that is where you can sign up for reminders on this series, but you can also add topic suggestions. We would love that, especially as we're planning for Q4. We'd like to have some suggestions for topics you'd like to see covered. We'll pretty much do anything that's Microsoft 365 based. And nothing is too little or too big, I guess, to go into a little bit here. So we try to keep them brief, and we will do that here today as well. And then if you have any other questions or need anything during this series, a good email to send those to is social@ttech.com, and we'll talk a little bit more about that at the end of today's session. So for now, I'm going to turn it over to Katie Kramer.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Amy, and welcome everybody. So today we have for you kind of just some templates that were actually built in Excel. So our title for today's session is to get a better picture of your data with Excel. So what does that even mean? So we all know that we can manipulate the data, we can analyze it, you can kind of move it all over the place, or maybe you didn't know that, and maybe you just use Excel to keep your data organized, and you like to just go through, create your list, have like the different tabs, keep all your information in there. You can totally do that too. This is kind of just taking it to that next step and letting you know how you can organize that data a little bit. And for those people like me who are a little more visual and they need that chart and, maybe some color with it, different titles, things like that, really explain through a picture what people are looking at. So we are going to be talking about charts, we'll talk about pivot tables, and then we'll also go through formulas. So again, though, this is kind of just a training template that we have for you guys today. So we're just going to kind of walk through the whole thing, let you see it. You guys are more than welcome to ask questions at any time. Please feel free to drop those in there. As Amy mentioned, she'll be watching that queue. So let's go ahead and let's take a look at the charts. So what we have is 10 tips for charts. So super quick and easy. And if you didn't know, yes, you can make a chart within Excel using the raw data that you have. Quick and easy way to do that. All you have to do is hit Alt and the F1 key to quickly make a chart. So it doesn't get any easier than that, right? So I know it's impressive, but let's kind of get in here and kind of get into some of the details. So tip number 2, select specific columns before creating a chart. So of course you have to go through and you can tell Excel what you want to grab, what data you want. So typically you can see like the little boxes when you get into Excel. Those little boxes are called cells. So each little individual cell also has a name. So up here in this little box, you can see this one is labeled as A1. So just so you know, as you go through and you start grabbing, let me grab an empty one. Obviously in these templates, all the lines and stuff are they're in white right now, but you will usually see them when you open Excel. But you can just go through here, and if your data is right here, it's going to grab all that. Tip number 3, use a table with your chart. So this also kind of helps give that representation of what people are looking at. So what did the raw data look like, and then what does it look like in a chart form? And then quickly filter data from a chart. So let's say that you need to move things around, things like that. use pivot charts when your data isn't summarized. So I used to think I was one of those people too that just had like the very basic just keeping my data organized within Excel, like you just go through and you enter things in and that's pretty much it, right? Like you didn't do anything special with it. But so I thought pivot tables, macros, all that stuff, I always thought that was so intimidating. I'm like,
I will say that's still kind of me. I haven't done much with this. So I'm very intrigued and listening hard on this one because I really haven't used this much.
So you can go through though, and now you can even create, they've kind of merged them together that you can create what's called a pivot chart. So you can go through, you can grab, let's say, in this example, they grab the product and then they also grab the amount, and it just creates this nice little chart for you. And you can go, you can click on the little arrow, you can select, if you don't want to look at apples, if you have like a whole bunch of other different kinds of fruits in here, you can go through and you can select, you can either select all or you can go through and select just the ones that you want to take a look at. Tip number 6, so create multi-level labels. So again, this is just going through and just kind of helping help people to understand what they're even looking at. So this is only going to work if your rows are already organized into groups. So in this example, the rows for fruits are grouped together, and so are the rows for vegetables. Hopefully you guys can see that okay, so you know what we're looking at here. And then tip number 7, use a secondary axis to create a combo chart. And again, these are just all the very different kinds of charts and stuff that are available to you within Excel. If you want to learn a little bit more about all your different chart options, give us a call. We're happy to do it. Otherwise, you can also go on Microsoft's site and they also have the training available. Or you can do even just your help button within Excel and it'll help you lay out and figure out like what kind of chart do I actually need, if you're not already a huge into charts.
I was going to say too, at the end too, we're going to tell you how you could potentially get a copy of what she's presenting today too, if you need to go a little more in depth in one of these areas. But like she said, a lot of this information, you can find it when you go, like you search it through on Microsoft. They have a lot of basic tutorials if you need the very basic versions of things. But if you want this kind of step-by-step with all of these tips, we'll be able to provide that, but we'll talk about that at the end.
Yep, absolutely. All right, and then tip number 8 for our charts is to hook up a chart title to a cell. So of course, we're going to want to know exactly what we're looking at here. So in this example, they added this week 1, so we know where we are. And then now this cell will always be green, so you can go through, you can change the label, things like that as you go through and change all the different data. Tip number 9, split off slices into a second pie. So if you want to do a pie chart and you need to have a couple different ones created out of the same data, you can totally do that. So this is something, if you go into the Format Data Series pane on the right, and then just go and split series by the menu, and then choose the value, type in the value that you want, and press Enter, and it'll return your chart for you. And then tip number 10 for our charts is to hover over chart elements to get a preview. So this is kind of like, just like when you're web browsing, and you're trying to figure out like where the link actually goes, you can just kind of hover over and it'll see like, or you'll see like exactly where you're going. Kind of the same thing in Excel is it's showing you exactly where you're going. So these are all, again, these are all just kind of design tips that we have. And like Amy said, we are more than happy to share this wealth a little bit, and it really does just kind of walk you through different things. There is also the option for this Learn More, so you can totally go in here and learn even more about charts if you want to. So just stick with us though as we walk through the charts, pivot tables, and the formulas. We want to make sure we share all of this good stuff with you guys because Excel is a really powerful tool. So, but I think just understanding like the logic behind it and getting comfortable with it, I mean, it's a pretty big learning curve for sure. And I do want to mention too, this is something, this is included in your Microsoft 365 product suite. So when you purchase 365, just know that Excel is included. So if you're not familiar, you can have the online version. If you want to install the desktop version as well, you can do that. So any questions on charts?
I am not seeing any questions yet, but just a reminder, if you have any questions at all, please feel free to throw those in the comments and we will do our best to answer those. And if it's after, if you're catching this in the follow-up, send us a private message, or you can see us on our Lunch 365 page.
Perfect. Okay, so let's move into talking about pivot tables. So again, this was something that I always thought this was way over my head and I never understand it. But actually, I don't know too. I feel like Microsoft has done a great job at making some of these tools a little bit easier to understand what we're trying to do. So down here at the bottom, you can see, I mean, it takes you through step by step. So it walks you through what is it. So in the most basic form, a pivot table takes data and summarizes it so you can make sense of it all without typing any formulas. So see, even they're kind of, you know, a little hesitant to use all the different formulas. Like some of these other built-in tools are a lot easier to use and understand. So here we have the data over here, and then this is what the pivot table looks like to summarize your data. So we kind of have, it looks like, I don't know, everyone's spend that they did and kind of when they did it. And then it goes through and here's the total. So now we know mom is definitely the spender of the family. So let's just go, like I said, we can go through and you can just kind of see they've made it, just added to it a little bit, made it a little more sophisticated. It's real easy to do. You click on your pivot table and you select your columns that you want.
I will say these are great for when you need to summarize, let's say in a quick group meeting. Let's say you have, a meeting where you're discussing, who's spending what. Like, let's say you're having a meeting at work and you need a quick overview. I mean, that's just the bullet point, fine point list when you want to go the very basic, but you can add more to it. And it just makes all the data from that huge chart so much more accessible and easier to use. And it's really not difficult. And like Katie said, this really takes it step by step by step to allow you to do it more easily and not get overwhelmed.
So in our charts view, we talked about pivot charts. So again, that's just a more visual way to summarize the same thing and kind of make sense of that data. So it's okay, where's our money going? Now we can see tickets, sports, music. We can see food is winning by a landslide, and that's on mom. I don't know if mom's doing all the cooking or just the shopping, but either way, we can kind of see now, here's where the money's going. So very easy to see. So this is kind of just walking us through the whole process. Let me skip ahead a little bit. I think 13 was a good one. So here's where you go. And to create a pivot table, just go to Insert and select Pivot Table. So that's how easy it is. It's going to bring up this little Pivot Tables field. So you can go through now and you can select which columns you want to add in your filters, your rows, your values. And you can also, it's real easy to just drag that stuff around. So if you're like, oh, I really wanted like the names to be at the top, or I wanted them to be at the side, or however you want to do it, just drag it back and forth until, and you can, on the fly, you can see what you're looking at. Let's see. So this is just kind of breaking it down. I don't know, I just thought this was like a really handy template and really walks you through kind of how to not be afraid to learn some new tricks and things like that. So,
and I think with Excel, that's one of the biggest problems. Like we, and I say we in very general terms, but we as a whole, most people have had access to Excel or have used Excel for many years, several years. Maybe I don't want to admit how many years I've had access to and used Excel. But we've had access to it and used it for a long time. And you fall into the trap of only using the tools that you use, right? Like, what did I learn when I first learned it, when I was probably even a child or a very young person? And am I now still utilizing just those same tools and not moving any farther with it? So with this is going to allow you to be a little more proactive and really use your data, not just collect data, but actually use it. So, and it's a lot more accessible, like she said, with this form than it is in some ways, because it can seem overwhelming, but it's really not difficult. It's just a matter of learning a couple extra tips and tricks.
All right, so this first template, this is just making your first pivot table. We also have a template available that is getting more out of your pivot tables. So if you want to go through and get a little bit fancy and really start to understand where the power is within Excel. So you can do a lot of things with it. But again, this just kind of walks you through. I just thought this was a super cool tool to have. I mean, by all means, I plan on keeping this in my back pocket and, learning a lot of tricks. So really helps people to understand, and you're more than welcome to share it with your teams. So I think that's it for pivot tables. Any questions on that?
I do not see any questions popping up just yet, but I saw a couple likes there when it came to utilizing Excel for a while and maybe learning some new tricks. That you can't teach an old dog new tricks, but you can.
You absolutely can. And you made a great point before about learning it as a child, because I remember taking advanced Excel classes in college, and that's been a minute. And, like we did the VBA code and everything behind it. I mean, I was very much like into, learning all things Excel and learning the macros and learning how it all worked together. That's been so long ago. It's so much easier to learn now and to absorb it. And I wish I would have had these tutorials available. So that's why we want to make sure we get it in your hands. Again, I'm happy to take calls and we can talk through what it can do for you. All right, let's take a look at formulas. So this is always a little bit daunting because you can just do so much with it. And obviously, if you're going to use formulas, you want to make sure you know what you're looking at. So obviously, so that you know that it is correct. So this template just kind of walks you through. Here's some of the basics of Excel. It explains, the cells as you group them together. They're called ranges, things like that. Just little, kind of the ins and outs of Excel. So we also have functions, basic math skills and things like that. Oh my gosh, as we get into more Common Core math and that kind of stuff, sometimes it's just helpful to have another way to know how to do it, and it'll show exactly the steps, and it'll also tell you if you get it wrong. So, but yeah, they have just all these different functions on here. So if we want to just talk about some of the more common ones, which actually I think there's like, I don't know how many, well over 100, I think, different functions and formulas and things that you can use. So here's the average, but it kind of just talks you through like how you get there. So in cell D15, you can enter the auto sum or type to enter another average function. Things like that just makes it super easy to use. Let's see. I don't know. I just love these. I could probably just dive into this all afternoon and play with it and see what it's all about.
And this is why you are our resident Microsoft 365 guru. I like to use the term nerd, but the term nerd in my world is a compliment. That's a compliment in my world, which so I know not everyone sees it that way, but I mean, I do feel nerds rule the world. So she is our in-house guru when it comes to Microsoft 365. So yeah, she wants to, of course, jump in. Someone laughed at that. I didn't see who it was, but someone sent the laughing face. But it's true. So you can go as deep into this as you want. You can dive all the way in, but we just want to make sure you're getting the most out of your data. And these forms, like I said, we will make sure to get you a way to get these from us at the end, like if you need these, because like I have used Excel on a very basic level. So Katie and I are at the opposite ends of the spectrum. So I would like to get a little more in depth, and maybe she wants to go all in.
I definitely do. Don't forget the geeks. They're out there too.
We love them.
Absolutely. So I stopped at VLOOKUP because I know that's always a common one too. So that is definitely one of the most widely used functions in Excel. It lets you look up a value in a column on the left, then return information in another column on the right if it finds a match. So I don't know. I know that's always a really good one too, especially as you're going through, if you have like a registration list or something like that and you're trying to figure out, do some party planning or event planning or things like that. That is such a great tool to use. Conditional functions. So if you need to, like throw some numbers in red or, anything over this, then do this, that kind of thing, you can add that in here. So Yeah, all kinds of good stuff, definitely for formulas. So I never know how far we want to go, depending on our audience. It's kind of one of those, I want you to know that this is there. We are more than happy to provide this template to you. So you can go through, you can learn all the cool things about Excel, really help your business out, help your friends, show off to some coworkers, whatever you want to do. I don't know. What do you think, Amy? You're muted.
There we go. Sorry, I was
There we go.
laughing too hard about your show off to coworkers comment. Showing off your Excel skills. It's quite the party trick. But truly, it really does help. So I know this can be a really dry topic. We don't want it to be a dry topic, but we also really want to help you. So with that being said, Katie, do you have anything more on that end?
I don't think so. Nope.
Okay.
I think that's it.
What I wanted to tell you is that if you need any of the documents that she was going through today that give you that step-by-step on how to do, let's see, we had formulas, we had pivot tables, and then what was the charts, just charts, yes.
Yep.
So any of those three, if you need that, the best way to do that is just send a quick email to social@ttechT.com. So remember, it's T-Tech T, so there's 3 T's in that. So social@ttechT.com, and I will check those and then make sure that we can get those to you. If there's any one of the 3 that you would like, let me know, and we can share that document with you, because we want to make sure that everyone has the ability to, go through and make the most of their subscriptions. And we get that some of you are not our clients. We'd love to have you, and we'd love to be your provider for Microsoft. We are a gold partner for a reason. We really do believe in the products, and we know that they can help you and help your business. So anything else, Katie?
I don't think so. Not for today.
Okay. Let me check over here in the comments and see. Oh, yep. Don't forget the geeks. I just now saw that, Deb. And I saw Deb was one who was laughing at me earlier. So I love that. I love it. So, yeah, again, any questions or comments you have after the fact, feel free to send those to us in a private message, or you can send it to social@ttechT.com. That's fine. You can also go to our page, which is the tomtechtoday.com/lunch365. And there is a place on there that you can submit future topic references, but you can also ask a question there too. That's fine. It'll fill the form out. We'll get it. We'll answer it. So all right. I think with that, we are done today with Excel. So thank you so much, Katie. And we'll see everyone at the beginning of September.
Oh my gosh.
It's crazy. Yeah. So we do these the first and third Wednesday of every month. So our next one will be at the very beginning of September. So until then, have a great day.
See you guys.
Bye, everybody.